In the country of Lithuania on the Baltic Sea, there is an unusual sight which to some might appear eerie and spooky. After a long taxi ride, one travels through thick clouds of mist and suddenly comes upon a hill that looks like a haunted apparition straight out of a Gothic horror film. This misty hill is literally covered with crosses of every shape and size, an overwhelming sight to behold. It is estimated that more than 400,000 crosses stand today on this hill, made of everything from wood to metal. Some of them stand as much as 10 feet tall, while others are so tiny that they are hung from the bigger ones. When the wind blows over the hill and through the forest of crosses and dangling rosaries, a haunting, almost otherworldly music is produced. Music that is at once the song of the suffering people and the song of hope. This is the famous Hill of Crosses, one of the most sacred places of pilgrimage in Europe. Unlike other sacred places, which were well thought out and carefully planned, this one arose spontaneously from the people, a heartfelt expression of what they were living and feeling. In 1831, there was a peasant uprising against the Russians, who had taken over the country a generation earlier. The revolution was crushed by the much more powerful Russian armies. When families of the slain rebels could not even locate the bodies for burial, they began to put up crosses in their memory on the site of an old fort on the hill. Over the years, more and more crosses were added. By 1895, there were at least 150 large crosses. By 1940, 400 large crosses were standing, surrounded by thousands of smaller ones. Throughout the generations, this hill, with its crosses, was a place where the people could pray for their dead, for their country, and for peace. The most brutal period of their history was, of course, the Soviet occupation from 1944 until 1990. Religion was forbidden during those years, but Lithuanians continued going to their beloved hill, continued to erect new crosses, reflecting the new and heavier cross they were now bearing. These pilgrimages became a demonstration of their identity, their heritage, their faith, a peaceful but powerful resistance to oppression. The message was not lost on the Soviet authorities, who constantly tried to remove the crosses and even bulldozed the hill 3 times in 1961, 1973, and 1975. Whenever the hill was leveled, the authorities burned the crosses or turned them into scrap metal, burying the site in waste and sewage. But every time the crosses were demolished, new ones would appear during the night in greater numbers than before. Local residents and pilgrims from all over Lithuania came to replace the destroyed crosses. The Soviets simply could not get rid of the crosses. KGB agents were stationed around the site to catch people sneaking through the forest to plant crosses. It is said that the Soviets even planned to dam up the nearby river so that the hill would be submerged under the water. Nothing worked. The number of crosses only grew. Since Lithuania regained its independence in 1991, the Hill of Crosses has remained a powerful symbol, not only of national identity, but of the endurance of the people's faith despite overwhelming obstacles. It has become famous worldwide, and many thousands of pilgrims visit there each year, many of them bringing new crosses from all over the country, from all over the world. No one owns the place, so all are free to place crosses as they please. Besides the countless crosses, one also finds there a stone bearing the inscription, "Thank you, Lithuanians, for this hill of crosses, which testifies to the nations of Europe and to the whole world the faith of the people of this land." These are the words of the Hill of Crosses' most famous pilgrim, Pope John Paul II, who visited there in September of 1993. We too have our own crosses, our own losses, our own hardships, and our own hard times. None of us is a stranger to the cross. Just as in climbing that hill in Lithuania, everywhere we look is another cross of a different shape and a different size. We can react as did Peter, in a very human way, and try to run away from the cross, thinking not as God does, but as human beings do. We can refuse to accept the cross, try to make deals with God, blame God, and curse our fate every time life does not go the way we, in our infinite wisdom, had planned. We can try, as the Soviets did, to level the hill, destroy the crosses, and cover it all up in the sewage and waste of a life that takes us nowhere. Or we can walk hand in hand with the cross-bearing Christ, ascend the hill of Calvary, the hill of crosses, the hill of life, and hear the invitation. Do you wish to walk with me? Then embrace the cross and follow me. I have not promised you a life without loss, a life without pain, but I have promised to walk with you every difficult step of the way. This hill is the one place where you are never alone. And the hill of crosses, which is known as life, suddenly becomes for us the hill of hope. The steps ascending that hill are still painful, but we suddenly feel no longer the pain, but the ascending. Only by walking up the hill can we reach something higher. Only by embracing a cross-bearing Christ can we hope to reach a life-giving God.